Hi guys, Gilly Hunt here with B in my A to Z of stamping products, the letter B, which is basics and bases. So we're going to look at the foundation things that we need to make a card. So let's go back to the catalogue, which is where we were going through and helping you find your way through. Now we've looked last time under A on accessories, so we looked at sweets and bundles and things that went together. Now later on in the series we're going to look at all the stamp sets. And the first half of the catalogue is full of beautiful stamp sets. So if you want to get ahead, then that's perfectly fine by me. Go to gillyhunt.com, buy yourself some lovely stamp sets and have a play. There's nothing to stop you doing that. But in the meantime, I'm going to go beyond the stamp sets into the next section of the catalogue. The next section of the catalogue looks at colour, and it's all the various coloured items that we sell. Now I'm going to miss that and you're going to go, no, but we're going to look at C for colour and cardstock. So under C will be colour and cardstock. Under D will be designer series papers, so we'll look at the designer series papers and things. And this time under B we're going to look at the basics. So we're going to look at the basics and including things like your envelopes and how to get started and have a decent structure to your card. So here goes. Stampin' Up have 53 different coloured cards available to you. And there are 3 that we call the basics. One is black. Another is Whisper White, which is a very soft, lovely white, and the other is vanilla, very vanilla. So we have very vanilla, Whisper White and basic black. Beautiful, soft cardstock, perfect for the jobs that we want them to do. So let's just add a little bit of warning though. The black, which I don't think I've seen in any other company, anything quite as beautifully black as this. When they say black, they don't mean a deep dark charcoal, or they don't mean a slightly off black. This is, if I bring it up close to the camera, I don't know how close I can get it to keep it. Oh, I'm all out of focus. Let's take it back to where it was. I think you see it better down there. So this is actually a really deep dark black. Now the only trouble with the black is, and I am going to in this series head up some of the problems. I'm not going to diss or damage Stampin' Up's reputation because I don't need to. The products are fabulous and amazing, and I've been crafting a long time and I don't think I've ever come across such good products. But I am going to highlight 1 or 2 of the downsides just so you can find your way around them, because I have found my way around them. The problem with the black is it's so beautifully dark. It has a lot of pigment in, which actually makes for a very soft, fibrous inner core. The cores of all our cardstocks are dyed, which is really important. So when you rip it and tear it, look, you don't get any nasty white inner non-coloured card. So it's all beautifully dark and deep, but it is quite soft. Now, it's perfectly fine, very sturdy, nothing wrong with being soft, until you come to want to get a really nice sharp cut. And all I can say is that if your blades on your trimmers are not quite sharp, then they sometimes struggle with the black. It sometimes gets a little bit sticky with the black. So I'm going to give you a little top tip. When you get your trimmer, which I'm so delighted we have a new trimmer. I absolutely love the new one. Wasn't a great big fan of the old one, I have to say. The new one is fabulous. And we get a set of 4 spare blades. These are the blades that come. And what I do is I keep one with a little piece of tape on it in my new box. And then I know this is the one that I'm going to use for my black card. So it's nice and sharp. It's one of the new blades, but it's one that I'm going to use several times just for the black. And I want to show you just how easy it is to move the blade in and out and swap it in, because you're going to say, oh, I can't be bothered with that. Well, it's so easy. Here's your trimmer. And along this line here, which is where the runner where we run the cutter and the scoring blade along. At the far end there is a little tiny piece. Now I've put a little bit of black marker pen across mine just so I can see where that spot is, but you will be able to see it. It's just an old bat like me, when I'm struggling to see things I can see those black marks and I know that's the point. So what we do is at that point there's a little notch cut into the bar, which means that as you get to that point, if you just very gently lift, oh, I've missed it. Hold your horses. That's supposed to do this easily. It does. There you go. It just hops up and it hops out. Let me do that again just to prove that it really is as easy as I said. There we go. Okay, it just hops out, and I can now put in this new blade just as easily. All I do is I click it through into that new section. Now I'm then going to cut my black card with that, but then I'm going to take it out, put it back away, and I'm going to continue with this blade for all my normal cutting. Okay, it's easy peasy to swap them in and out, so it's no big deal, but it just means that you've always got a really nice sharp blade for your black, and then when that becomes not good enough for your black, that goes, I rip the tape off and that goes back into the general pool, ready to be used on all the other colours, because it is only the black that I find the problem, just occasionally with some of the very, very dark other colours, but this is our issue. Do we want lovely, beautiful, deep, dark quality cardstock? Yes, we do. Okay, so that's the way around it. That's the basic black. Now we also then have a Whisper White and a Very Vanilla in our basic range, and we have these in 2 different thicknesses. Okay, one which, if you listen, is quite a wibbly wobbly. It's still card, it's got substantial presence, so you'll not have any problem with it, but it is a thinner card. It was designed specifically to go through die cut machines and punching machines really, really well and give you lovely results. It also has, and this is in the thinner or the standard Whisper White and Very Vanilla, it also has a sized coated surface. Now what does that mean? Well, let's put our thicker pieces away for a moment, we'll come back to those. So let's look at this standard paper. I'm going to bring in some samples just to show you. You'll have to forgive me with all these little bits of reminder notes, because I'm kind of trying to remember where I'm going with this. It's very easy to go wittering on. Okay, so here's our Daisy Lane, which is a beautiful stamp, but very, very, very detailed. Very, very detailed. And I want to just show you what the difference is between having a sized or coated card. Now the coating allows the ink to start to hit the top layer, and it holds it in the top layer, which means it holds a very sharp, crisp image. It doesn't sink in and then blend and blur. It just stays right on the surface as a crisp image. And I'm going to try and get these in focus so that you can see the difference. Right, this central middle one is our Stampin Up cardstock, and I've tried to be fair and show you something similar. I haven't gone for cheap and nasty card because actually, to be honest, I don't have any in the house. I've only got these from a very long time ago. So this one is a very slight watercolour paper, and you will see that on the watercolour paper, the difference between here, which is the Stampin Up one, and the watercolour is that the watercolour around the edges, the image has started to blur. It's beautifully black and beautifully dark, but it is starting to blur. Can you see? Compared to the really crisp, smart image you have here in the middle. Okay, so let's go sideways onto a similar manufactured card. Now this is another good quality card, but you will also see that ours has this much sharper image. Here we get some little bits missing, some little blurs. Not a huge difference until you look at the tips. And this is where the major difference is, because this is where the big details are. Okay, Look how every single tiny, tiny, tiny one is clearly defined. Look how these start to blur. As they get to the end, they start to blur. Okay, so what I'm saying is you can get equally almost as good paper, but if you want the best, this is it. And that's because it has that sized surface. That sized surface also means, excuse me leaning across and looking all unprofessional, it also means that you can get really beautiful print for text. Now this text is very tiny. Okay, there's my card when I take it away. It's very tiny text, but you can read every last tiny detail of it. Okay, and I want you to note that, because that is something that really is hard to do. This is from the Beautiful You set. I do love this lady dancing. So that's another thought for you, that if you're trying to do something which has tiny, tiny little bits of text, then that's probably the best thing to do, is to find one of those two standard papers. The other thing I want to show you, and I'm just going to bring this in and make this as we go along, is that sometimes we want to do, let's just find, I'm using the painted poppies for this sample. Sometimes what we want to do is we want to just have a really nice simplistic card, and I'm going to literally go one, and I'm going to put them just slightly offset. Oh, and I put my finger in that one. Let's see if we can, oh, that was clever, we've just gone over it nicely. I've got probably a nasty piece on my finger now. Yes, I have, look at that. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so we've now just printed out 4 poppies, and I'm going to come in and on a scrap piece of paper I'm going to put congratulations, and oh my goodness, I've done it upside down. Oh, and it's wonky. Right, now what would have happened if I'd done that on my card? It would have been a nightmare. I'd have been starting again. And I'm sorry, I'm not very good at acting, but I did do it on purpose. So let's just show you why I wanted to do this, because I want you to be aware that as a beginner, or as somebody starting to stamp, it's a great idea to use this lovely standard paper, because it has the sized coating. Look how beautifully clear that ink is, and I hardly pressed at all. And the nice thing is that if I do it upside down and I do it back to front, or I get it slightly wonky, or it doesn't quite go where I wanted it to, let's just go down a little bit. Hold on. What I can do is I can then cut it out, and in fact, look at that, it fits right across that bit where I put my finger. You see that blur there? It's going to vanish. Wait for it. Here it goes. Okay. Nice and simple, really easy little card to make, but it's making use of that really beautiful fine text that you can get on this sized card. So that's the simple one. Now, the only problem we have now is that size card is great, but it's not always wonderfully stable. It is a little bit thin. Now, I find that anything from this note size downwards is perfectly stable. For example, little tiny lovely little ones like this are totally stable, utterly stable. You know, you can bash this around and it's not going anywhere. So it is good quality card, but we have brought out a thick version of the Whisper White and the Whisper White and the Very Vanilla. Both have available this slightly thicker version, and if you listen to them, I'll just click them in front of the camera. Right, now you can see how much stronger that is than this. Okay, so that extra thick one doesn't have the same properties, so it doesn't have the same sized finish, and in fact when you run your finger over it you can feel the smoothness of these thin ones, but it does mean that you can make really nice cards, even with lots of layers and lots of weight on them, because this is not going to go buckling and bending anywhere. Okay, I can really bash about on this. It's not going to buckle. It's going to stay nice and super. And this is the thick quality of the card. So there you go. Those are the three basics that we have. One black one, two of each of the very vanilla and the whisper white, suitable for really detailed ink work, and the thicker ones suitable to make a base card. So that's our basics. Now we're going to talk about bases, because we've just started to talk about our base card here. And for every card that you make, how terrible is it if you have a winky wonky, slightly weak card that won't stand up nicely on somebody's mantelpiece or dressing table or wherever they put it? So here's one. Also available in the catalogue. I'm going to take you back to the catalogue, wherever I've thrown it. Here it is. Also available in the catalogue, along with those simple papers. So that was the cardstock here. Under Paper Basics was the very vanilla, the whisper white, and the thick cardstock. Okay, that's where you'll find it. And it's also available in 12 by 12 sizes. So there's the very vanilla and whisper white in those. Okay, now also in this book there are, on the page opposite, let me just see if I can get it in focus, yes I can, note cards and envelopes. So these are what I've just been using quite a lot for my classes in particular. Ready folded notes, cards and envelopes, ready to go, sold in a pack like that, 20, is it 20? Yes, it is 20. 20 at a time for just £6.50. So really cheap way of getting started. Okay, so I'd highly recommend those as a good way of starting. However, also in these catalogues are designed beautiful envelopes and note papers. I'm not going to show you all of them because you can find your way through the catalogues and have a good look. But for example, just to show you, we have these foil edged cards in silver with beautiful silver envelopes and gold with gold envelopes. And they make fabulous, very simple cards, or slightly more complex cards, but sort of almost frames it like a little picture. You can almost put that behind a piece of glass, couldn't you? Wouldn't it look nice? So very simple, slightly more complex, doesn't matter, but you've got that lovely foiled edge. Great for Christmas, but also great for the rest of the year around. Okay, now another thing I want to draw your attention to is a page further on in the catalogue is the Memories and More section. Okay, it says Memories and More. And in that section, there are all the things you need to do lovely scrapbooking and put together some lovely memory albums. But also, and this is for our card making in particular, we have assorted Memories and More cards and envelopes. And I just want to show you those. So I'm just going to put this out of the way. Excuse me leaning over again. But I've got so much stuff around me to do this that I'm having to do this. Right, Memories and More are sets of cards. They come in a little pack looking like this. So this is, they come wrapped up in a little pack like that. And when you open them, depending on the different types, you get a selection of little tiny cards and slightly larger cards, and you get bits of embellishments and bits of extras for making some really super scrapbook pages. But they're also great for making cards, and that's why they're called Memories and More, because you can use them for more things. So let's just make a simple little card. Now, because I've gone here for these, as I showed you before, the assorted Memories and More cards and envelopes, they are designed to be the exact size to fit Memory and More cards. So look what's going to happen if I do this. I've just chosen a really pretty one that I liked. Okay, let's stick that one down. And then let's add one of the stickers from the pack. And I now have instantly a beautiful little note card. So isn't that clever, isn't that quick, and isn't that easy? Here's another one just to show you in the bigger size. So they come with an envelope to match. So there it is, it's ready to go. I could have even made that when I said to someone, I'm just going to the loo, I'll be back in a moment. And I could run upstairs and make that card and go, phew, I got away with that. Nobody would know that you'd forgotten. Okay, so here we go. This time I've taken one of the Memories and More small cards. Even though the big cards would fit on here, I've taken one of the small cards. I've mounted it up on just a piece of Early Espresso, and again I'm just going to take a little embellishment from the pack, and there we have a large one to match to. So easy peasy way to do those sorts of cards. All right. Now there also are some in some of the catalogues, and you'll find different ones in different catalogues at different times of the years and things. Some that are specific to the Memories and More, but are rather nicer designer packs. So in this one we have the Magnolia Lane, which is in our 2020 catalogue. So I thought I'd show you those two, and they come as a card and envelopes, and you also get a set of liners, papers, all cut out ready for you to line your envelope with. And this is the sort of thing you can make. You can pop your liner inside your envelope and just stick it down at the top, pop it in, and there it goes. Doesn't that look lovely and professional when you open the envelope? Isn't that beautiful? And here is one of the cards from the Memories and More pack and some of the embellishments. And not only that, when I open it up, it's the perfect size to fit one of the bigger cards as your greeting page. So when you're designing your cards and thinking about your bases, just bear in mind that there could be homemade bases, but we also have a whole lot of bases ready for you to go. Now, I just wanted to give you a sneaky tip. If you do buy this kit that has the liner, then I would suggest the first thing you do is you use the thick card and you draw around your liner and you make yourself a template. Because from now onwards I can use that template to cut round to line our standard C6 cards. So can you imagine? I can now use that liner, let's line it up nicely, I can use that liner in any of the coloured cards and all the designer papers that we've got, and I've got the template ready for me. Okay, so I've now mentioned the larger cards. These are larger envelopes, sorry, not cards, envelopes. They're C6 size and they're available in the very vanilla and in white, and I love them. They fit particularly well if you're working with 12 by 12 papers. And I just want to give you, before we go, a quick top tip for cutting your 12 by 12 papers to make bases for these envelopes. So all you need to remember is 4s and 6s. Okay, 4 inches and 6 inches, that's all you need to remember. So I'm going to come in with a piece of 12 by 12. It's hard for you to see the whole thing, sorry. I can't get the whole of a 12 by 12 on camera, but we won't need to. We need our trimmer, and I always have, and you'll see me quite frequently, almost all the time, I have a little piece of tape down the 4-inch mark. Okay, so let me just show you, oops, closer. I've put the tape so that this straight edge is right along the 4-inch mark. Okay, and the reason for that is that's a reminder for me of the 4 and 6 rule. So here is my 12 by 12 sheet, and the first thing I'm going to do, oops, is I'm going to go in and I'm going to butt this up against my mark there, and I'm going to slice off 4 inches. And do you remember I said everything's 4s and 6s, so that's your 4. So we're now going to turn it round and we're going to butt it up against this edge and this edge, because that's our 6-inch edge. And we're going to get the cutter out of the way and use the pale one. So I've got, this is the darker one, which is the cutter, and this is the pale one. and we're going to go like that, and instantly I have one card. Now this is a landscape style, so it goes that way, or it can go that way, up tent wise, or it can go sideways wise. And now we have a smaller piece of paper, and we're going to cut along the long edge. So we're going to take the longest edge now, and we're going to cut at 6. So we've done a 4, scored at 6. Now we're going to do cut. So let's get the cutting blade in the right place. So we're going to cut, and now we're going to score these two at 4. You've guessed it. So, and another one at 4. We're going to line it up to that, line it up to the top. There's my score. I've now got, really quickly, 1, 2 conventional cards, which are like that, and we have one cut on a long easel, long lengthwise. But that way, every 12-inch card, you can get 3 lovely card bases that fit perfectly inside the Stampin' Up C6 envelope. So I hope that's been a useful race through the basic 3 colours and the envelopes and bases that you might choose to use for your cards. And I hope you'll come back for the next, which is the letter C, which will be cardstock, but we'll also be looking at colours, and we'll look a little bit at colour theory and how all the different colour families work for Stampin' Up, but also how we can choose which colours to put with which, and look at some simple artistic theories. Okay, thanks very much. Do come back again next Sunday, and thank you for watching. Bye bye.